In Nigeria, we often say, the broom that swept the house is not afraid of the dust. But sometimes when a young person keeps escaping consequences one day, the dust refuses to go. That was the case of Bella. Bella was a final year university student, 23 years old, with a bright face and a wounded soul. She had lived carelessly parties every Friday, alcohol on Sundays, and lovers who left before morning. Her roommates called it enjoyment. Bella called it survival. 7 times she found herself pregnant. 7 times she removed it. The pills, the herbs, the backdoor nurses, N15 Zarazarad here, N20 Zarazarad there. She had her ways, her people, and her silence. By the 3rd time she didn't cry. By the 5th she didn't blink. By the 7th it was routine, a quick visit, a quiet pain, a flat stomach. Then came number 8. At first Bella didn't panic. She knew what to do, but this one refused to go. The pills failed. The concoctions did nothing. The nurse shook her head. The belly kept growing. Bella, who once slept like a baby after every solution, now woke up in fear, hands on her stomach, whispering, "Not now, not again." She prayed, not to keep it, but for it to go. But the womb said no. Every week her body changed. Her breasts grew heavy, her waist vanished, her appetite changed, her heart sank. Friends noticed and rumours began. One roommate asked, "This one, are you sure it's not twins?" Bella didn't answer. She just cried at night, begged God by morning, and avoided mirrors in the afternoon. She didn't know the father, not because she was cursed, but because there were too many names on the list and too few memories attached to them. Some men she only knew by nickname. Some she never saw again after that night. Her past had become a fog, and now her future was a storm. When the time came, it came like fire. Labour gripped her like thunder. She was rushed to the hospital, screaming through the streets of Lagos like a woman burning from the inside. In the delivery room, doctors gathered. Nurses panicked. Bella pushed and pushed again and again. 1 baby, then 2, then 3. By the time she gave her final cry, 12 babies had entered the world. 6 boys, 6 girls, all alive, all crying, all needing a mother, and Bella. She laid still. Her eyes were wide, her lips trembling. She asked the nurse, "Is this a punishment?" But the nurse only whispered, "Madame, who should we call Bella," said nothing, because in that moment her pa stood beside her bed, dressed in white cloth, breathing softly, waiting to be claimed. In many Nigerian homes, we say a child may cry for food, but it is the mother who cries in the night. But what happens when the mother refuses to cry at all? That was the case with Bella. After delivering 12 babies, 12 small, soft-crying lives in one long night of labour, Bella lay still in her hospital bed. The doctors were exhausted, the nurses amazed. But Bella was silent. When they told her she had given birth to 6 boys and 6 girls, her lips barely moved. "It's a lie," she whispered. But it wasn't. The babies were real, they were alive, and they were hers. Wrapped in white cloth, they were lined up like loaves of bread, breathing, blinking, yawning. A nurse came close and asked, "Madame, who should we call?" The father Bella stared at the wall. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Not because she was ashamed, but because she didn't know. Too many men, too many nights, too many memories erased. The hospital room was full of life, yet Bella's heart was empty. By the next morning she was back home not with joy, but with dread. 12 babies, no husband, no money, no idea what to do. Sandra, her friend, begged her Bella keep even 1. Bella shook her head. "I want my life back. I want to sleep. I want to be free." Sandra cried. "These children are gifts from God." Bella hissed. "Did I ask for gift?" That night as the babies slept, Bella wrote a list the names of men she had been with. Some full names, some nicknames, some she guessed, some she didn't even know their surname. She folded the paper, put it in her purse, and made a decision. She would return the babies one by one. The next morning she dressed 2 of them, a boy and a girl, in clean matching clothes. She wrapped them in shawls and tucked them into a soft bag. Their tiny hands waved like they were saying goodbye. Sandra stood by the door whispering, "Bella, please don't do this." But Bella didn't listen. Her eyes were sharp. Her heart was set. She knocked on the first gate a man from a hotel years ago. He looked at the babies and said, "From one night you must be mad." Bella replied calmly, "They look like you. If you doubt, we'll do DNA." The man hesitated. Then, out of fear or shame, he let her in. Bella placed the babies on the couch and walked away. No goodbye, no hug, just silence. And so, like a hawker selling sorrow, she moved from door to door. Some men argued, some denied, some threatened. One called the police. But Bella ran fast and unbothered. By the end of the week, all 12 babies were gone. Her room was quiet now, no bottles, no crying, no life. Bella lay on her bed and whispered, "My body is free." But she didn't know the price of freedom gained by abandonment is a heart that can never rest. In many traditional Nigerian households, raising a child, especially a daughter, is treated with deep reverence. From early childhood, girls are taught to sit properly, speak respectfully, and honor their family's name. A child who brings shame to her parents is seen not just as a personal failure, but as a communal sorrow. For families grounded in faith, this duty is even more sacred. Bella was raised in such a home. Her father was a deacon with a voice like thunder and expectations as high as a palm tree. Her mother was a prayer warrior who fasted twice a week and believed that makeup, short skirts, and late nights were tools of the devil. From Monday to Saturday, Bella wore long gowns. On Sundays, she was the first in church Bible in hand, eyes lowered. They taught her to pray before eating, before sleeping, even before speaking. Her life was structured, modest, and moral. When Bella gained admission to a university in the Southwest, the whole street rejoiced. Neighbors clapped. Her pastor laid hands on her. Her parents told her, "Go and become a light in darkness." Don't forget your roots. She promised she wouldn't. She meant it. At first, she kept her word. Bella joined the campus fellowship and refused to attend parties. When other girls posted photos with tight clothes and red cups, she held her head high and said, "I'm different." She wore her old clothes from home, spoke respectfully to lecturers, and focused on her books. But campus life isn't just about books, it's a battlefield of choices. Her roommates laughed at her old shoes and called her Mama Sue. They changed wigs every 2 weeks, ate fried rice daily, and went home on weekends with shopping bags. They had boyfriends with cars and uncles who paid rent. Bella's N5 hourly monthly allowance couldn't even buy decent data for research. She skipped meals, reused sanitary pads, and walked 2 miles daily to class. She held on for a while, but when her final year arrived and she couldn't afford her project printing, she broke. Her friend introduced her to a businessman. He wore a suit that smelled like imported cologne and drove a black SUV worth more than N25 million. He promised to pay all her bills, no strings attached. But of course there were strings. "Just one night," he said. Bella cried the first time. She went back to her hostel and fasted for forgiveness. But she also submitted her project on time, ate good food that week, and bought a new dress. The second time she didn't cry as much. The third time she didn't cry at all. This is how it starts, not with rebellion, but with hunger. Not with evil, but with survival. And in that survival, dignity begins to leak away. To Nigerian elders, this story is too familiar. You've seen bright children fall. Not because they were bad, but because life pressed them where values were thin. That is why we must speak louder earlier and more often, because sometimes it's not the devil that leads them astray. It's silence. In Nigeria, we say, when a child breaks the calabash, she will first say it was an accident. But what happens when the breaking becomes a habit? When the shame fades and the excuses multiply? That's how Bella's journey unfolded one step at a time, until her conscience no longer cried. After her first night with the rich businessman, Bella cried and fasted. She told herself it was just once just to get her final year project done. But when the money came, it didn't just cover her expenses. It covered her guilt. It tasted like freedom. And slowly the tears stopped. That same man called again. She went, then another man, and another. Soon Bella no longer prayed after each encounter. Her bag grew heavier with money. Her phone became the latest model. Her wardrobe changed from faded Ankara to imported dresses. Her classmates began to notice. "Bella, you're glowing," they said. She would laugh and say, "Na God," but it wasn't God. It was the quiet money of dark nights. She slept with rich men, some married, some old enough to be her father. She slept with lecturers. She exchanged her body for grades. She slept with classmates, the smart ones, who helped her with assignments in exchange for sex. Her body became currency, a means to an end. And the line between right and wrong, it faded like old paint in the Harmattan sun. Bella no longer cared about protection. Sometimes they used it, sometimes not. Sometimes she asked. Often she didn't bother. She convinced herself she was in control. But control is a dangerous illusion when built on reckless choices. Pregnancy became a common occurrence. The first time she wept. The second time she wiped her eyes and moved on. By the third she knew the nurse by name. By the seventh it was mechanical, a N15 Arian procedure, 2 hours, in, out, done. She was no longer afraid, no longer guilty, only free, or so she thought. But with every abortion something inside her dimmed. And when the 8th pregnancy came, the one that refused to go, it didn't just stay in her womb. It stayed in her spirit. It was a stubborn seed planted in the soil of every compromise she had ever made. Bella's heart grew cold. Her smile became hollow. She walked around campus with confidence, but her nights were restless. The laughter she once faked now came less often. Even her roommates, once her cheerleaders, started whispering behind her back. But Bella had gone too far to turn back. The girl who once quoted Bible verses now quoted prices. To the elders reading this, you know this story too well. You've watched bright daughters slip away. You've warned them. Sometimes they listen, often they don't. Bella didn't fall in a day. She fell in pieces, each one smaller than the last, each one harder to recover. Let this be a reminder. When you sell your dignity one night at a time, you don't just lose yourself. You forget what you once were. In Nigerian tradition, a woman's true crown is not in her jewelry, nor in the weight of her gal. It is in the cry of a baby calling her mama. In her husband saying, "She has given me a child." That is the name that gives her respect in the compound, the market, and the village council. But what happens when that crown is lost before it's ever worn? Bella thought she could outrun her past. After abandoning the 12 children she gave birth to, Bella decided it was time to settle down. "I want to do it right now," she told herself. "When I'm ready, I'll give birth again, this time with a husband, with a plan." And so she married. Her first husband was a rich businessman, older and established. He made her his third wife. The wedding was big, aso ebisuya, jollof rice highlife music in the air. Bella wore gold and coral beads, smiling like a queen. Guests whispered, "She's lucky." But 1 year passed, no pregnancy, 2 years, nothing. At first people said God's time is the best, but by the 3rd year her co-wives stopped pretending. The first wife mocked her. The second laughed louder. Her husband grew cold. One evening he handed her divorce papers. "I didn't marry for decoration," he said. Bella packed her bags. No music this time, no friends dancing, just silence. She tried again. Her second husband was a charming politician, always in the news, full of sweet words. Another big wedding, another round of hope. Again, no child. She watched months turn into years. One night he stood by the door and said, "I need a wife, not a statue." And just like that, she was dismissed again. Then came the third. A contractor, kind, simple, full of warmth. He treated her like a queen, took her on vacations, bought her clothes, called her sunshine. Bella felt peace. For the first time she thought maybe this one will last. But the question still came, where is the child? This time the silence was louder than ever. At 45, Bella noticed her body growing quiet. No more signs of monthly flow, no more signs of life within. She waited, prayed, hoped, but nothing came. She sat on her bathroom floor one morning and whispered, "It's over." Menopause had arrived like a thief in the night, not just stealing blood but stealing the last seed from her womb. Her face, once bright, now looked tired. Her beauty faded. Her phone no longer rang. The same men who once chased her now passed without greeting. She wore her best dress one day and walked into a party. No one turned, no one stared. She sat alone in the corner, holding her purse like a child. To Nigerian elders, this part of the story is the deepest cut, because you know what it means for a woman to grow old without a child calling her name, without a hand to hold, without a voice saying, "Happy birthday, Mama." Bella once said she didn't want a child to tie her down, but now with nothing and no one, she learned it's not children that tie a woman down, it's children that lift her up when the world lets her go. In Nigeria, we believe that old age is not meant to be lived alone. A woman's grey hair should be surrounded by the laughter of children and the footsteps of grandchildren. Her name should be sung at birthdays, called in family prayers, and remembered long after she is gone. But for Bella, none of these things happened. At the age of 50, Bella's house was quiet. Too quiet. No toys on the floor, no tiny shoes by the door, no child saying "Good morning, Mama." Instead, there was only silence and regret. She sat on her bed on her birthday, no cake, no hug, no visitor. Just tears rolling slowly down her cheeks as she whispered, "I was once a mother. I had 12. Those 12 children she once gave birth to, 12 cries that filled a delivery room, were now nowhere to be found. Years earlier, she had dropped them off like parcels handed over to men from her past, without confirmation, without love, without prayer. One to a musician, one to a lecturer, one to a man who never even knew her real name. Now she wanted them back, not to raise them, not to explain, just to see them, just to hear someone call her Mama. So she began her journey. The first house belonged to the man from the market, the one who took the twins. His gate was taller now, his compound neat. She knocked gently. He opened and stared at her. She said softly, "I came for the twins." His face turned cold. "They don't know you. They are mine now. Don't come back here." He shut the gate. Bella stood there motionless. The wind blew her scarf to the ground. She picked it up and moved on. The second house was in Yaba, a poor musician she once knew. He opened the door, guitar in hand. "Bella." She smiled weakly. "The girl I left with you, where is she?" He scratched his head. "I gave her to my sister in Benin. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know you." Bella's shoulders dropped. No words came, only silence. The third house was the most painful, a wealthy man, now a church deacon. She waited until service ended. As he stepped out, she approached. "Do you remember me?" He looked away. "I gave that child to an orphanage," he said. "I never saw her again. I'm a changed man." Then he walked off, Bible in hand, like she never existed. 3 doors, 3 rejections, 3 pieces of her heart gone. Bella sat on a stone in the park watching other women call their children, watching a small girl run past with her mother, her eyes filled with tears. For a moment, she imagined the girl was hers. For a moment, she smiled, and then her phone rang. A weak voice said, "Bella, this is your old lecturer. The child you left with me, she's still here. Her name is Teeny. She doesn't know you, but I think she should. Come before it's too late." Bella's heart leapt, a flicker of hope. She packed her things, tied her scarf, whispered to herself, "Maybe one child will remember me." She boarded the bus. She stared out the window, counting every tree, every mile. But halfway through the journey, a crash. A loud horn, screams, silence. Bella never made it. never saw her daughter, never heard the word mama again. To every elder who reads this, never wait too long to fix what is broken, because sometimes when you knock the door you once shut may never open again. In Nigerian culture, no woman should die in silence. No mother should be buried without a child to say she was mine. Her name should be called, her face remembered, her grave visited. But for Bella, the woman who once gave birth to 12 children, her end came with no voice, no tears, no one. Bella had lived a life full of decisions, some brave, some careless, some irreversible. She had once stood in a hospital room and brought 12 babies into the world, 6 boys, 6 girls. But one by one she handed them off to men from her past. She said she wanted her freedom. She thought she would forget. Years later, regret began to eat at her like a rat in the ceiling, quiet, constant, unforgiving. Her house was quiet. Her womb was silent. Her phone didn't ring. No child called her mama, not even one. At 50, her body tired, her heart aching. Bella made one final decision: let me find them, even if just one remembers me. She knocked on many doors. Some men had moved. Some denied knowing her. Others claimed the children as their own. One said, "They don't know you. Don't confuse them." Another now, a church leader, said, "I gave the baby to an orphanage. I'm a changed man." She was met with rejection, silence, and shame. But then came one last phone call. It was her former lecturer. His voice was weak. "Bella," he said, "the child you left with me, she's still here. Her name is Teeny now. She doesn't know who you are, but she deserves to. Please come. I don't have much time left." Hope returned to Bella's heart, just a flicker like a candle in the dark. She whispered to herself, "Maybe one child will remember me." She tied her scarf, packed a small bag, and boarded a bus heading to the town. As the vehicle rolled through the countryside, she imagined the moment. Teeny standing at the doorway, Teeny asking, "Are you my mother?" Bella replying with open arms, "Yes, my child." For the first time in years, Bella smiled, but fate had its own plans. Halfway through the journey, rain began to fall. The bus sped down a narrow hill, a loud horn, a sharp scream, then metal bent, glass shattered, and silence. Bella died that day. No child came to the morgue to identify her. No pastor spoke her name at a funeral. No obituary in the papers. No family song. Her bag was found beside her inside a name tag. No husband, no child, no kin. Only a woman who once had 12 children and died with none.